8:22. Good morning, I'm Andy Johnson. Thanks for being with us, as usual, here on WESN and AM Prime. Let's tell you what's happening over the next hour and a half or so. We'll be talking with Tyker Phillip, a co-producer and stage manager of something called Port of Spain Dukes. It's the coming together of a number of schools in the Port of Spain area celebrating Christmas. They're calling it Gloria, Gloria, Christmas in Granny's Magic House. We're talking about that just after the 7 a.m. news. Also, we're talking again this morning with Alan Ferguson. He's the president of the Trinidad and Tobago Scrap Iron Dealers Association. You know their lament. They've been complaining about wanting to meet with the government. They've had several meetings with various ministers in the government, but the issue continues as to what they want to get done with that piece of the industry in the country. We'll take you around the region. We'll take you further afield to the extent that that is possible. But we're going to start the program with a discussion with Dr. Angelique Nixon. She's director of the organization called CAISO. That is the Coalition Against Advocating for Inclusion in Sexual Orientation and Gender Justice. As we marked another milestone in what is World AIDS Day, Dr. Angelique Nixon is attached to the University of the West Indies in St. Augustine. We'll get back to her in a moment. We'll come back for that as we kick the program off on this edition. Stay with us.
Your Christmas is safe with us at PCU. Police Credit Union. Police Credit Union. Your Christmas is safe with us at PCU. Police Credit Union. PCU. Police Credit Union.
Get an easy zero-interest Christmas loan at Police Credit Union today. Borrow up to $25,000 with affordable monthly payments. New members, you get up to $10,000. No interest, no installments until January. Apply online at www.policecreditunion.com. Loan subject to credit approval.
Your home a work of art. Step into a spacious place of creative ideas for your home space. Our floor and wall tiles and natural stone is ideal for any use you need in your home. Toilet, bathroom sets and vanities lend design to your creativity, while jacuzzis and shower enclosures create the mood for dwelling on life's pleasures. Lamps and lighting fixtures add ambience and memorable pictures. Horse-eye lights, tiles and bath, making your home a work of art. Olsen's Industrial Complex, Union Road, Marabella.
Whether it's acid reflux, cataracts, glaucoma, a swollen prostate, diabetes, or weight loss, Customized Health Solutions has been helping Trinidad and Tobago for over 2 decades. So let us help you. Call 627-2640 for your Compass assessment now.
Better Value Limited has been making gift giving easier and more affordable for over 26 years. Power tools, indoor, outdoor furniture and accessories, mini appliances, designer fragrances, houseware and home decor products, and all your bridal registry items. Now in stock, our stylish loft bed and study desk combo unit for just $16.50. Better Value Limited. Call 235-3709 or visit us at Princestown or Gullview, or check our Facebook page.
Is there not a cause? Is There Not a Cause needs more help and volunteers for the many outreach events during this busy, critical season. You can volunteer and help in many ways: your time, your talent or skills, your resources, or your finances. Is There Not a Cause is making a difference, one life at a time. Check Is There Not a Cause's Facebook page for a calendar of outreach and fundraiser events, and share where you can volunteer, or WhatsApp 394-2042.
Make every occasion a sparkling celebration with Rosabella alcohol-free wine.
Toast cheers with hourglass rays. Rosabella, live life with Rosabella sparkling drink. Celebrate!
Welcome to the American University of Barbados School of Medicine. We offer 2 comprehensive MD programs, 5.5-year program for high school finishers, and 4-year program for college graduates.
The American University of Barbados has been accredited with the Barbados Accreditation Council, BAC, and has been accredited
by CAMHP.
as the medical school has affiliate hospitals at Baltimore and Chicago in the USA and the Caribbean islands.
Register now for the next intake, January 2023.
Better Value Limited has been making gift giving easier and more affordable for over 26 years. Power tools, indoor, outdoor furniture and accessories, mini appliances, designer fragrances, houseware and home decor products, and all your bridal registry items. Now in stock, our stylish loft bed and study desk combo unit for just $16.50. Better Value Limited. Call 235-3709 or visit us at Princestown or Gulfview, or check our Facebook page.
Hi, this is AM Prime. On this day, we're talking now with Dr. Angelique Nixon. She's the director of the organization known as CAISO. It doesn't stand for what we think that will mean. It stands for the Coalition Advocating for the Inclusion in Sexual Orientation and Gender Justice, as we mark another World AIDS Day in Trinidad and Tobago and indeed around the world. Dr. Nixon, good to see you.
Thank you so much for having us. On World AIDS Day, and of course it's during the 16 days of activism, which is a period of time when many civil society organizations are calling for different kinds of actions and acknowledging the ways that we can, work together towards social justice, and how do we, create and make our communities safer. So for World AIDS Day, CAISO is reiterating our demand to the Ministry of Health to stop withholding critical medication for HIV prevention.
Right. So I saw that. What does that mean? So the Ministry of Health, the government, therefore, is withholding critical medication for people who are HIV positive.
Yes, exactly. Currently, PrEP, which is pre-exposure prophylaxis, is HIV medication that, when used consistently, reduces the risk of HIV infection by over 90%. The World Health Organization recommends daily use of PrEP for anyone who's substantially at risk of acquiring HIV. This is really a necessary medication. Currently, access to PrEP is regulated and controlled by the Ministry of Health through the Medical Research Foundation. And so essentially this means that life-saving medication is unavailable to already vulnerable communities most in need of it.
So what's the rationale for the regulation and control of it, as far as you know?
Well, back in 2016, Trinidad and Tobago signed on to the UN high-level meeting and political declaration to eliminate the spread of HIV by 2030. However, Minister of Health Terence Singh has refused to make PrEP easily available because of his belief that it will encourage people to, quote unquote, engage in some sort of risky behavior that would cause one to be at higher risk of getting HIV. This is quoting him from 2019, and he has said it in other situations as well.
So who gets it?
But our response is that's exactly what PrEP is for. The Ministry of Health should be supporting rather than punishing people for what is framed as risky behavior. The minister should instead be making sure that HIV prevention is readily available and accessible to everyone, especially those populations that are considered most at risk. And so we are challenging the minister and the Ministry of Health to do their jobs, protect the public rather than shame people or put key populations at risk.
Yeah, and it still is. I mean, after a couple of decades of advocacy on this, that there continues to be discrimination in one form or another, and there continues to be unnecessary spread of the virus.
Yes, absolutely. And the issue is that communities and people who are at higher risk experience so much stigma and discrimination in the public healthcare system. And this includes the populations that CAISO serves, in particular, that being the LGBTQ plus community, in particular, trans people, men who sleep with men, gay men, and and also people engaged in sex work. So these populations are framed, especially by public health sector, as quote unquote key populations. But yet, as in the rest of the world, for a number of years, PrEP is made available. It's accessible for people who are considered at risk or high risk. But here in Trinidad, we've not had that same engagement with PrEP or a rollout of PrEP. It is in the country, it is available, yet not available. There's so much regulation and it adds more shame and stigma. So if you have to go into the healthcare sector and ask a bunch of questions and be made to share personal information and only do it after you're already exposed, it just causes so much more harm, and it prevents people from going to get the kind of treatment or even testing that they need. There's already stigma. If you're already vulnerable, population goes into the healthcare sector looking for support. They're already stigmatized based on gender identity and sexual orientation. From the moment you get to a healthcare center, the security or the nurse or whoever is there looking at you, and you experience that stigma, that discrimination, you might not go in to get tested. You might not go in to get the treatment that you need. And what we found in our work at CAISO through Wholeness and Justice, where we offer direct provision of services to LGBTQ plus people living in Trinidad and Tobago for the last 2 years, that stigma and discrimination, that impact of going into the public healthcare system, and we have no protection in the public healthcare system in any health sector based on sexual orientation or gender identity. So that means people can readily be discriminated against, and there's no way to seek redress. And this is another highlight that we want to acknowledge on World AIDS Day. We should be following the science, following the advances in public health and medicine. Our fellow Caribbean countries, PANCAP, PAHO, regional organizations, and our fellow countries, Guyana, Barbados, and Jamaica, have all rolled out PrEP programs. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are programs that exist that we can certainly adapt for our context.
Where is there used to be this National AIDS Coordinating Committee? Is that still functioning? And what's the nexus between your organization and them?
Well, certainly, it is the case that NAC. I know that NAC is a they work through the government. They are an organization that liaises with civil society organizations and the government. So they are in a very particular place. Certainly, we've been in conversation with NAC. Many civil society organizations have. Some CSOs sit on the NAC committee. So there's been a lot of, calling. We've been calling for the government to do this for some time. I know that NAC is putting out a lot of information, but they can't put out information that's not available in the public healthcare sector. So, I think that they would support exactly what we're saying. And I know that civil society organizations doing HIV activism and who've been working with key populations for many years, such as, FPAT, Friends for Life, and PAM, we have partnered with them in many different ways to put forward these arguments, to call for added protections, and to acknowledge this glaring gap in the public healthcare sector. We want to end stigma. We want to end HIV. If the government and the Minister of Health are indeed serious about the elimination of HIV by 2030, there's no way we can do that without PrEP. We must have PrEP available. As my colleague Ray Alabay, community caseworker with Wholeness and Justice, says, it is cheaper and more effective to fund and support HIV prevention than to manage treatment and related psychosocial care.
Yeah. There's this drug that's been advertised heavily on US TV. You see it every night when you're watching some programs and some channels, some networks. Big Tavi, what is called, they say that that is a wonder kind of drug. It reduces the system in you to the point where it becomes unrecognizable and becomes untransferable. That is not something that is available here, or maybe if it is, it's out of the reach of many people who would need to have it.
Well, people living with HIV who are on treatment and being able to effectively take their medication are in fact untransmissible. I mean, the antiretroviral medication that exists, that's HIV treatment. That's after you know you're HIV positive, you've gotten on a treatment plan, and you become undetectable. That's how advanced the medication is. PrEP is for people who are HIV negative and could possibly be at risk. And that's a daily medication that one would take. And you would get on it with a healthcare provider who understands what you're going through, what your needs are. But currently that's not available. Antiretroviral, if you're diagnosed with HIV, you're living with HIV, then you're prescribed antiretroviral medication, which is treatment. And again, there are many people all over the world, and certainly here in Trinidad and Tobago, people living with HIV who are undetectable. And that means they're untransmissible. Their viral load is so low that they are not able to transmit HIV to another person. I mean, this is what we want. This is how we eliminate HIV by 2030. But it means that you have to do both PrEP and HIV treatment. So it's essential to do both, because what we have, particularly for our for marginalized populations, because we haven't ended the stigma, it's still very difficult to talk about, if I'm someone living with HIV, to speak about it, to share about it with family or in the public. There's still so much stigma, so much more work we have to do around being able to talk about sex and sexuality and our bodies. And we see how that impacts us into adulthood. We see it affecting our young people. We don't have comprehensive sex education in schools. And, we're still not talking about these things openly. And so we see how that impacts public health. It impacts issues like teenage pregnancy, it impacts STIs, and it impacts, in particular, how we understand and know what do we know about HIV. We need more education.
Yeah, and that is another sort of contentious issues itself. This question about what should be taught in schools about sex, sexual behavior, sex education, comprehensive sex education, as you call it. And that's another hurdle to be crossed, right?
Absolutely. And Andy, this is also something that so many civil society organizations, especially during this time of 16 days of activism, are saying, calling for comprehensive sex education. What do we know about comprehensive sex education? We know that it encourages and enables young people, empowers young people to learn and know more about their bodies. We know from the research that it creates a more informed public. Young people make better decisions, more informed choices about sex and sexual activities. They're more aware of how to keep themselves protected. And in fact, what we've found in the research, decades of research, globally and regionally, it prevents child sexual abuse, it prevents teenage pregnancy, and it prevents gender-based violence. And certainly prevents STIs. So why would we not want to teach it? Age-appropriate, comprehensive sex education. What it does, it provides a more informed public. And that is what we need. It helps everyone. And right now, we lived through one pandemic, but we have to remember HIV, the HIV epidemic that we call it now, we lived through that. And we're at a point now where HIV is not a death sentence. Some of us grew up in a moment when it was. Some of us I've lost family members. I've lost close friends, and we have to remember that every single person is likely touched by or has been impacted by HIV/AIDS. And we have the medication, we have the advances in public health to eliminate HIV. So this is the process, and this is what CAISO is calling for. The process of ensuring that we educate our public and that we make sure and ensure that life-saving HIV medication, prevention medication, PrEP in particular, is made available easily and accessible to the public. And I want to finally say that one thing that we've done for World AIDS Day as CAISO is we've launched a toolkit specifically to address this issue of education. The toolkit focuses on HIV care, psychosocial care. It focuses on the LGBTQ plus community, and it offers very accessible language. It offers descriptions of the medication from prevention to treatment, We also offer resources on where you can find clinics. We did an assessment of the public healthcare system and clinics. We also talk about safer sex practices, which is absolutely essential for all people living with HIV, for people who are concerned about HIV, anyone who's having sex. You should be thinking about this, right? And we wanted to go from a very sex positive approach because there's so much in our culture that is sex negative, where we don't talk about it. So this tool.
Go ahead. So the toolkit is for whose use? These people, these categories of people you just talked about.
For LGBTQ plus community broadly, but it can literally be read by anyone. It is available on our website, KaisoTT.org, with a C, KaisoTT.org. You can download it yourself and check it out. We're going to be launching a social media campaign starting from today that outlines the material in the toolkit. And yes, we have written it specifically for the LGBTQ plus community because there's nothing like it out there for our community. And we've recognized the ways that we're so impacted. And so we wanted to write something that was sex positive and with accessible language and that outlined the issues facing our community. We also discussed the barriers to care, and we offer support for people, especially if you're struggling. Anyone living with HIV is going to struggle because it is a lot to manage because there's so much stigma and discrimination. And then on top of that, if you're in a vulnerable community, you're doubly and triply marginalized, and it will impact your ability to access treatment. So we are outlining all of that in the toolkit, and we want it to be, for everyone. And we've been working on it for some time with our amazing Kaiso volunteer, Dominique Absalom, who's been working with us since June. And so I invite your viewers and the public, please, and in particular for LGBTQ plus people, to check it out.
All right, so if the Minister of Health is taking the position he's taking or has taken on the matter, is it not, could be seen that he is sort of carrying out what will have to be the government's policy? Because if it's the government's policy, if it's not, he couldn't be taking this position by himself and of his own accord, correct?
I'm not sure, Andy. There seems to be no public health reason to take the stance, except for something that is a kind of moralistic and also shame-based attitude. It also stems from an attitude that people living with HIV are not deserving of their human rights. I mean, this is really a human rights issue. It's also a lot of silence around communities such as ours, LGBTQ plus communities, where there's a lot of silence from the state around how we enact care and protection. We're still managing that. We still have no protections on the basis of sexual orientation or gender identity. The Equal Opportunity Act explicitly excludes sexual orientation. So we have no way to seek redress if we do experience any kind of discrimination. And that impacts all sectors: access to public health care, access to employment, housing, and so on. And we see how our communities are so impacted by that.
And I think when the Lynette Sibran-Sweet, I think when she was chairman of the Equal Opportunity Commission, of the Equal Opportunity Authority, whatever it's called, I think she had made a point about that, and the sense was that she was going to lead the move to get the Equal Opportunity Commission to take under its ambit this question about gender equality, and so not so?
Yes, the Equal Opportunity Commission has been very supportive of the amendments. They've put forward, as I understand it, amendments to the government for the Equal Opportunity Act, which is a part of their mandate. So we wait. It's been over a decade since we've been calling for these amendments, in particular LGBTI status and health conditions would include HIV. So we wait. As I understand it, the government is waiting for the appeal process on the Jones case. That has created some delays in how the government is approaching particular kinds of anti-LGBT laws or discriminatory laws based on sexual orientation. So we wait, but nonetheless, KAISO and other civil society organizations, human rights organizations have vehemently said, we can't wait for this. We must have protection now. And one of the things that KAISO has done we have engaged, because there's a lack of protection afforded to LGBTQ plus people, through our Wholeness and Justice program, we do offer direct services for psychosocial care and for legal services for people in particular who experience any kind of human rights violation. And we have been working with clients for over 2 years and serving the LGBTQ plus community for those who need it the most, because there's nothing that the state is doing. It's a glaring gap, and we are doing our best to fill that gap and offer assistance where we can.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much, Dr. Angelique Nixon, Director of CAISO, the organization standing for Sex and Gender Justice in Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Andy. Take care.
You're very welcome. You too. We will take a break, and when we come back, probably we will get one or two of the regionals, a trip around the region, before we go to Mr. Alan Ferguson, the president of the Trinidad and Tobago Scrap Iron Dealers Association, the combative Mr. Ferguson. Stay with us. This is AM Prime.
Your home a work of art. Step into a spacious place of creative ideas for your home space. Our floor and wall tiles and natural stone is ideal for any use you need in your home. Toilet, bathroom sets and vanities lend design to your creativity, while jacuzzis and shower enclosures create the mood for dwelling on life's pleasures. Lamps and lighting fixtures add ambience and memorable pictures. Horseline lights, tiles and bar, making your home a work of art. Oceans Industrial Complex, Union Road, Marabella.
Whether it's acid reflux, cataracts, glaucoma, a swollen prostate, diabetes, or weight loss, Customized Health Solutions has been helping Trinidad and Tobago for over 2 decades. So let us help you. Call 627-2640 for your Compass assessment now.
Better Value Limited has been making gift giving easier and more affordable for over 26 years. Power tools, indoor, outdoor furniture and accessories, mini appliances, designer fragrances, houseware and home decor products, and all your bridal registry items. Now in stock, our stylish loft bed and study desk combo unit for just $16.50. Better Value Limited. Call 235-3709 or visit us at Princestown or Gulfview, or check our Facebook page.
Whether it's a room for 1, 2, 3 or more, there's a room waiting with the ocean view almost to your door. Cocoa Reef Resort and Spa, the perfect getaway when you don't want to travel far. The Cocoa Reef Resort and Spa, Crown Point, Tobago. Call 639-8571 for your reservation.
Welcome to the American University of Barbados School of Medicine. We offer 2 comprehensive MD programs, 5.5-year program for high school finishers, and 4-year program for college graduates.
The American University of Barbados has been accredited with the Barbados Accreditation Council, BAC, and has been accredited
by CAMHP.
As the medical school has affiliate hospitals at Baltimore and Chicago in the USA and the Caribbean islands.
Register now for the next intake, January 2023.
From A to Z, find it all easily. Everyone comes from far and near to the specialist hardware.
Get all you need for your interior or exterior projects, from finishing accessories to small or large tools. We're known for a range of doors, flooring, moldings, medallions, even fountain pumps and tanks. Check us out. We have what you need to get that job done.
Your list from A to Z, find it all easily. Everyone comes from far and near to the specialist hardware.
Oceans Industrial Complex, Union Road, Marbella.
Your Christmas is safe with us at PCU. Police Credit Union. Police Credit Union. Your Christmas is safe with us at PCU. Police Credit Union. PCU. Police Credit Union.
Get an easy zero-interest Christmas loan at Police Credit Union today. Borrow up to $25,000 with affordable monthly payments. New members, you get up to $10,000. No interest, no installments until January. Apply online at www.policecreditunion.com. Loan subject to credit approval.
Welcome back to the program. Moments from now, we'll be talking with Mr. Alan Ferguson. He's the president of the Scrap Iron Dealers Association of Trinidad and Tobago. The government is promising to end the current ban on the industry for exporting its stuff. We will talk over that in a moment. But first, let's take a quick look around the region. In this one instance, the Guyanese government is seeking another $48 billion in supplementary budget allocations. We have a report from the Guyana News Source, the News Source Guyana.
The Pacific Administration, through the Finance Minister Dr. Ashley Singh, today approached the National Assembly for another $44.4 billion in supplementary funding and clearance for some $2.9 billion in advances taken from the contingency fund. The request comes approximately 3 months after the National Assembly approved an additional $44.8 billion in supplementary funding for major transformational work that the government says it was doing in housing, water, education, public works, and local government. And this came after the $552.9 billion budget, which was approved in February of this year.
Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Member Zulfikar stood in this House and he spoke about the flourishing economy. The World Bank report, Mr. Speaker, says that 50% of Guyanese are living below the poverty line. What are they talking about? Who is this wealth going to? 50% of the people are living below the poverty line, Mr. Speaker. So what are we talking about? And then at 3:17 this afternoon, Mr. Speaker, we receive an email for a supplementary provision of how much? $44 billion that is going to be considered in this seating today. Mr. Speaker, it tells me that that is the real reason we are here, because they have to dip into the kitty once again to spend and spend and spend in a manner that is not impacting the life of the ordinary Guyanese.
According to the financial papers laid in the National Assembly today by the Finance Minister, $44.4 billion is now being sought, largely for infrastructural works. According to the documents, an estimated $2.07 billion is needed as part of the Indian line of credit to facilitate advancement of works ongoing on the East Bank to East Coast and Marara Road linkage. Under the Ministry of Public Works, another $18.1 billion is being sought to facilitate the upgrading of miscellaneous roads and drains in various communities, and $938.2 million to advance civil works on the Linden to Mabura Road project. Notably, an additional $7.2 billion is being sought under the China Exim Bank loan facility, and this is to facilitate the mobilization advance on the reconstruction of the Sheriff Street to Orange Nassau on the Railway Embankment Road and Belfield to Orange Nassau on the East Coast of Marara Highway. In total, a whopping $28.4 billion is being sought for the Ministry of Public Works. Under the Ministry of Housing and Water, the government is asking the House to approve $275.9 million, which it said is needed to facilitate the completion of water supply inventions. Under the Ministry of Housing and Water, the government is asking the House to approve $275.9 million, which it said is needed to facilitate the completion of water supply interventions in the hinterland areas and the procurement of a new drilling rig. Also under the Ministry of Home Affairs, government is seeking a total of $427.5 million for the procurement of vehicles to boost the operational effectiveness of the Guyana Police Force and the closure of the Citizen Security Strengthening Program. According to the financial paper, $14.7 billion is being sought for current projects and programs, while $29.6 billion is being sought for capital projects. Meanwhile, financial paper number 2 of 2022 contains advances taken from the contingency fund to the tune of $2.9 billion. The expenditure reportedly took place between August and November of this year. The opposition today raised concern about the second supplementary budget coming from the government.
All right, just to put that in context, 48 billion Guyanese dollars, well, work it out, the rate of exchange and what the currency levels are. That probably is about $4 billion in Trinidad and Tobago currency. We get to that. Somebody like Anthony Wilson will work that out in his head. We keep a track of these numbers here, have to try and make these relative comparisons. But right now we're talking about scrap iron, we're talking about money in a major way as well, because they're saying that they're being starved because they can't export their product. After several meetings with the Prime Minister and with other members of government that they've been calling for months, the situation is not one where they are happy. We're talking now with the President of the association again, Mr. Alan Ferguson. Good to see you, sir.
Good morning to you and good morning to your viewers, man. It's a pleasure to be here on this program this morning.
All right, so the brief we have is that the government is proposing to end the current ban on scrap iron exports out of the country before the end of the year, but the restrictions on the export of copper will remain in effect for at least 1 year. Well, let's deal with what is not restricted. What is the sense of assurance you all have about that? You've gotten that from whom, that this will happen? We're talking about,
well,
if we minus the Christmas and the New Year period, we're talking about 21 days in which this has to get done.
Well, in the meeting last Friday, it was the Attorney General, Minister of National Security, and the Trade Minister. What the discussion was around the law to govern the scrap industry, and the open up came up with a discussion, a strong discussion with us and them, which they said that yesterday they will go to cabinet to get the approval in reference to what the committee will come up with. They say after the cabinet, well, then they will go to parliament next week. And I think they give themselves about 2 weeks, because we will ask them even 2 weeks before Christmas to open back up, because the whole situation is because a lot of our members have nothing for the Christmas, and some of them was not able to send the children and things to school, and there's a lot of separation in the industry, because this industry does take care of a lot of poor people in Trinidad. And because of that, we asked please to just open back up before the Christmas so we could start back doing some business. Now, what will happen is that the old law will go on until the end of the year, and then the new policy and laws will come in the new part of the year. I don't know how soon in the new part of the year, because they have to put some things in place to make sure that all the things that they said and put in the act, that they will get able to come in the new year. So I don't know how long, but we as an organization, the association, we not a political party, and when the government do good things for our industry, we thank them. And we want to, as much as we will go through a pain and separation for the last 3 months, we still want to thank them for giving us this hope that something will happen before the year done, because a lot of our members on the same scale suffering and under some severe pressure. You could understand, Andy.
Yeah, and what about the issue of the export of copper? Why will that remain off of the list for now?
Well, we.
Yeah. Hello? All right. All right, let's see if we get a means by which we can hook back up with Mr. Ferguson. In the meantime, let's take a look at what's happening here in St. Lucia. The tourism minister emphasized the importance of taking greater steps to protect the island's tourism product during the height of the cruise and the Christmas seasons, says this report.
Following a string of murders last week, 2 of which occurred in Grosley, Tourism Minister Honorable Dr. Ernest Hilaire was questioned on what measures would be put in place to beef up security at the height of the cruise season. Rodney Bay and Grosley Town are 2 of the island's prime tourism locations. Though the minister was unable to answer the question in detail, he did indicate that it is an issue for urgent attention.
Issue that we have to address. A few years ago, again, when the Labour Party was there, we had the Rangers program, which were dedicated special constables to deal with touristic spots. It was stopped, and I think we probably should bring it back.
The age of social media is such that everything is broadcasted globally in an instant. Minister Hilaire cites this as one of the many reasons why proactive measures must be taken.
And we live in an era now where any attack is all over social media, broadcast all over the world, and is a different reality to what it was a few years ago. We need to be very, very sensitive to that, and we need to be very proactive.
According to Dr. Hilaire, the numbers for the season are trending upwards, and tourism stakeholders are doing their best at advertising the destination. As a result, there is need to protect the image of the island's tourism product.
We're going to have a very good season. Fourth quarter and first quarter 2023 in terms of arrivals and cruise ships, and we need to make sure nothing is done. We are out there working very hard, the Tourism Authority, the SNHTA, promoting St. Lucia, trying to keep the numbers up, and we cannot take chances. We really have to put our best foot forward and to push all agencies to work together and to make sure that the tourism industry brings greater benefits to St. Lucia.
All right, so we return to our discussion with Mr. Alan Ferguson, the president of the Scrap Iron Dealers Association of Trinidad and Tobago. You're back with us.
Yeah, and before I get cut off just now, I was mentioning that the year ban on the copper, I think the government don't need a whole year to put that system in place. I think they could probably, if they work with us, it will probably just last about 3 to 4 months for the most. We sticking on that. They don't need a year to put things in place to able to control that copper and bad copper going out. If they say they want to use the scanner and the port because we understand that months ago that the scanner wasn't working and that could have caused a serious effect on material going out. If they say, well, it will take a year to get a scanner, well, we understand that, but it will take a year to put policy in place to govern the scrap industry.
So you're continuing to negotiate to reduce that time for the continuing ban on the copper exports?
Yeah, well, they promised us to have a lot of conversation with us in the period of time why is the ban going on, and we're trying to, they'll say the time could reduce also to based on the discussion with them and us. We hope that everything will go.
How significant are the exports of copper? What sort of percentage of your exports is taken up with that, and why is it appearing to be so critical?
Well, Andy, if you know the industry,
I don't.
A lot of people from China and India and other parts of the world, they come to our country to export copper to places that take it the most. And the whole thing about it is that they here since the ban is going on, some of them have leave, and we hope that all of them don't leave, because in Trinidad there's probably 1 or 2 of us that are able to export copper out of Trinidad because of the contract to able to export this copper. Copper is one of the most expensive products in our industry. If you understand the price of copper and the amount of money you have to spend to pull a container, because our industry do not able to get cash flow from the banks and all different places, Trinidad, our members in Trinidad find it very difficult to pull containers of copper. So you will understand why most foreigners come and fill in that gap for us, and we sell them, and that's how it will go.
Why is it? Why help at least me out here to understand? Why is it so lucrative a product for export and so on? We know that when copper is small change, it's the smallest of small change they make with copper. So why is it on the other end, such an attractive.
Well, and if you know the difference, if a ton of steel is $1,500, you know what the price of copper is going for per ton? The price of copper is more than 29,000 a ton. So you could imagine the difference of that. And the demand for copper all worldwide, China, all over, that's copper do a lot of things in products, and like in radio, television, a lot of different things. And copper do a lot of, that is why it's so expensive, I don't know why I would have come and meet copper, the most expensive material in our industry.
Yeah. And so you think the government is asking for a year because that is the time it will take to put the arrangements in place such that people won't be stealing, where these minerals can be found and upsetting a lot of other kinds of activity when you remove manholes and cut down transmission lines and all them kind of things. Do you think? So they want to put a regime in place to prevent that from happening in a comprehensive kind of way?
Well, Andy, let me explain to you. In the early stages, you remember I on this program telling the government, let us ban the copper and allow the industry to still open by the steel and other aluminums and different products to able to export.
Yeah.
Now, if they take that from us and listen to us and sit down at the moment with us, I think everything will have solved, because you see, Andy, even people in Europe and all over the world, they understand that we have a lot of knowledge in this industry, And because of Trinidad and because how they think here, they don't believe that we have the knowledge. But Andy, people outside of Trinidad see we as people who have good knowledge in this region here, Andy, let me tell you something. This didn't hurt Trinidad alone, This hurt the Caribbean. Because some people want to know why we just export so much material to Trinidad. It's because of Grenada, Antigua, and different Caribbean countries bringing material every single week and buying stuff to go back home with the money that we pay for the material that they coming from the rest of Caribbean islands. And because of we is the number one in the Caribbean in exporting recycling material, we know that we've been recognized worldwide because of the amount of material we sell to different plants in China, in Taiwan, in India, in Pakistan, and Turkey. So we understand the importance of our industry here. And that is why, Andy, we understand the amount of people we have been employed in this industry. That if you look at when this industry shut down, the amount of poor people was coming to us. And because you see, a lot of people don't understand. This industry reached right down. The money trickled down to the poor, to able to eat something when the day comes. And because of that, a lot of people find themselves coming in the industry and give us some of them give us bad name by stealing copper wire and manhole cover and this. But what we do now, what the government do, by we giving them information how to regularize the industry by putting certain things in place to ban men and them, the people who go around buying battery, buying iron. What we had told the government, put a license to them so people were able to run in this industry and cause a lot of harm. We have been campaigning for this for years,
And so that suggestion has been taken to license these people who come around looking for to buy scrap iron and old batteries and so on.
Yes. We want to thank them for listening to what we said in that. And also, what will happen now, that containers that come from the port, they'll only be going to yards that have license. What used to happen from the past is that people used to just ask for a container and people who come from India, China, they used to send it to anyway. So what will happen is that people who steal things and don't have a license and are not being supervised by no monitor people who come in to watch them for containers. A lot of problems used to go on, and then when you go to the port, no supervision by watching what they're doing. So that I want
to ask you this before we go. So one of the issues we had over the last several months of this activism, that the question of vested interest was not affiliated with the association and getting to do things that members of the association weren't getting to do, such as the disposal and dispersal of the material at the former Petrotrin. Is that a matter that has been settled? And have you all been given satisfactory kind of explanation as to why other people were allowed to go in there and move out with the stuff and you all were left at the gates?
Andy, that is a matter is settled yet, and when you're doing this struggle, you have to understand you can't fight all these battles one time. But I could give Trinidad the assurance that will come up again, because Andy, was a disaster. You tell me a man who just came in 1 month before the bid win 90% of the material. That was a serious problem that we need to address, but we just cool off at that. But before we go, Andy, I want to let Trinidad and Tobago know that what we and the association do, because we represent so much of poor people in Trinidad and this industry, you know what we decided to do? We decided to take old steel and take it and make it a different art and craft and change up the way we do business with the art and craft and iron and different things. And what we are asking people for is that 2 weeks before Christmas, we want to have a free market, because we ain't sure that the government might open it back before Christmas. So we decided that 2 weeks before Christmas, we're having a free market, and we will be bringing out art and craft we make with iron, things that make with iron. You know, they have all different things, and we're going to show Trinidad and Tobago that, listen to me, if you have clothes to sell in the poor communities, if you have clothes to sell, if you have shoes to sell, if you have food to sell, whatever you have to sell, we are asking people to come out and support us in reference to our free market that we have in just 2 weeks before Christmas. And we asking the public and all, come and support us, because there's a lot of people in our organization. We want to change the system with them. We want to help them. We don't want to give them $10 and decided that they will have nothing to do. We
gotta go, but where that will be, and what date?
Well, as I say, I think it will probably the 10th. We will be starting the 10th of this month. We will be starting, and when we saying we want people to stay away from crime, we want people to stay away from breaking down doors, climbing walls, and doing all kind of things. So we say we have a. I understand.
We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much, Alan Ferguson, President of the Scrap Iron Dealers Association in Trinidad and Tobago. We're heading up to the top of the hour. We're going to be talking with Tyka Phillip on the other side after the news, and she's the person is a co-producer and stage manager of something called Port of Spain Dukes. We'll tell you more about that when we get there. Stay with us.
Here is your WESN News on the hour. I'm Sean Michael Small. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. House to debate on Deputy Commissioner nominations on Friday. Senior counsel says authority figures lack empathy. Opposition gives Top Cop grade F. And internationally, 3 people found sitting on ship's rudder survived an 11-day voyage from Nigeria. Now for the details. Debate is expected on motions to approve the notification of the President of the nomination of 2 individuals to act in the office of the Deputy Commissioner of Police. The 10th sitting of the House of Representatives takes place on Friday. Senior counsel Martin Daly says people in authority do not seem to care what happens to citizens of the country. He was speaking in the wake of over 555 murders and the recent natural disasters that plagued several communities.
The overall thing that is lacking in Trinidad and Tobago, which is somewhat mystifying, is that I prefer to call them our rulers, because that's how they behave. Our rulers don't actually care. I've been saying for a long time that there's very little empathy, very little compassion. 20 years ago, I wrote a column called Our Unfeeling Kings, because they don't actually seem to care what happens to us. That's a little mystifying, because what the flood crisis has shown is that there are thousands and thousands of Trinidadians who are very well disposed. They have a sense of civic duty. They get out there and help. But somehow that is not reflected in the government structures.
Opposition member Sean Sobers says the acting commissioner of police deserves nothing more than a grade F for his performance. The mayor toll has reached record highs of over 555 in the last week.
The most appropriate grade that could be given to anyone who's presided over 555 plus murders within the year, the most amount of murders that Trinidad and Tobago has ever seen, would have been the apt rating to be given to someone like that would be an F. And it is really not beyond any of us to also understand that F could be specifically connected to his line minister, which is Mr. Fitzgerald Hines. And the F, in fact, is not for Fitzgerald, it's actually for failure.
Internationally, the Spanish Coast Guard has rescued 3 people who were stowed on the top of the rudder of a ship that arrived in the Canary Islands from Nigeria. In a photograph distributed by the Coast Guard on Monday, the migrants are shown perched on the rudder of an oil and chemical tanker, Althini 2. The Althini 2 arrived in Las Palmas in Gran Canaria on Monday after an 11-day voyage from Lagos in Nigeria, according to Marine Traffic, a ship tracking website. Well, that's the news on the hour on WESN. I'm Sean Michael Small. Thanks for watching. Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378 or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
On the next episode of Nicole Larson Live, Living in Victory Every Day.
You, and I've known you for so many years, you going for them. You know, it's only a
Rescue
call.
mission.
You will rescue, you know, and dun-dun-dun-dun, and you're going. But I want to find out about that passion. Where did it come from?
Well, you know, I've thought about that a lot. I think it's a combination of my family upbringing and my faith.
We see sometimes that stillbirth or miscarriage might have higher rates of mental health complications, or abortion has higher rates of mental health complications.
Believe that whatever God allows has great potential to become your greatest win.
You are stronger than you know. So much stronger than you think.
No matter what they say, living in victory every day.
Nicole Larson Live, Living in Victory Every Day. Every Sunday at 8 p.m. and Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. on WESN.
Welcome back to the program. Let's just read this introduction for you. This Christmas, 3 Port of Spain-based Anglican primary schools have teamed up to present their first ever musical titled Gloria, Gloria. Christmas in Granny's Magic House. Led by their administrators, the Port of Spain Jukes comprises students at St. Catherine's Girls, known otherwise as Juke Street EC, Christus Rex, that's Richmond Street Boys School, the Trinity Junior School, in a joint production that is scheduled for the 16th of this month. It's a Friday, and the 17th, it's a Saturday, at the Lord Kitchener Auditorium, National Academy for the Performing Arts. That's on the top of Port of Spain. Showtime is 7:30. Gloria Gloria will shine light on the developing talents and the performing arts of these youngsters, and is a massive fundraising opportunity for the 3 participating schools. So to tell us more about that, with us now, Taika Phillips. She's the co-producer and the stage manager of the production. Good to have you. Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to be here.
All right.
Good to be here. Happy, what's today, Friday?
Certainly. So let's talk about how it came about and what can people expect and that kind of thing.
The play or the collaboration?
Let's start with the collaboration.
So these are 3 beautiful schools that are on Duke Street, which of course, if our viewers know anything about the city of Port of Spain, is the longest street in the capital city. And so these 3 schools...
Rice Road.
Yes, all the way, well, from behind the bridge coming all the way down to Ryson. And these 3 schools are on Duke Street. So St. Catherine's is first if you're going east to west. St. Catherine's is first, and then we bounce up Christus Rex when we cross Richmond Street. And then next door to Richmond Street Boys is Trinity Junior.
Yeah.
So why not collaborate and work together to raise funds that will support these 3 schools that are all under the umbrella of the Anglican Archdiocese.
Yeah.
Why not?
And let's just say for people who know it and don't know it, at this hour and half an hour from now, that is you don't want to be there if you don't have to be in that intersection.
Because parents are dropping their children off at school. So, and there's a traffic light there that brings students from other schools heading down to another school as well too. So that is a block that...
Sacred Heart and so on.
From 6 to about 7:30, find another way. And so one of the schools had an administrator who thought that it would be best for the schools to raise funds together as opposed to separately, as is their usual jaunt at this time of year with bazaars and that sort of thing. So why not come together and do something that will also contribute not just to the schools making money, but to the edification of the students in our care. You know, we have little ones who are just out of preschool, so they are, 6 and 7, and then older ones who are getting ready for SEA exams, so that's 11 and 12. That's a nice age group, nice catchment age group to engage young people in something that they, either don't have access to because of financial constraints or parents just not knowing that these extracurricular activities exist, or to give children the opportunity to do something they haven't done before or yet. So like playing brass. Yeah. We have a brass band now in Richmond Street Boys, which is amazing, an outfit of 10 amazing young men who are playing brass. That blows my mind. And then young people who've never spoken Spanish before, who sing in Parang with Alicia Jagaza. I mean, what?
Claro.
Yes. So, I mean, and the little ones who are so engaged, wait, what you doing in school today? We have rehearsal? I didn't realize we had rehearsal. No, I just came from a meeting. You don't have rehearsal today. So it's really engaging them in these very involved extracurricular activities that are art-based. Because yes, sports is great, sports is awesome, but not everybody is athletically inclined.
Yeah.
So for those who can sing, or those who can act, or for, my group of young people, I have 15 young people who will be doing stage management with me. We need technicians in the theatre world, as well as capable youngsters coming into the field. So maybe it's something that they'll tap into a bit more when they go into secondary school.
And post-secondary, because you don't have to wait until you go to UTT and so on to learn those parts of the thing, stage management and production.
Because everybody wants to be a star. Yeah. Everybody wants to be on stage. But for those who aren't too keen on being in the lights, stage management and technical theatre is perfect for you. Turning the lights on and giving the stage a different view. A lot of young people, they go to see a show and it's so exciting and it's so beautiful, but they don't know what happens behind the scenes. The chaos that gives way to the magic that happens on the stage. How do we move the props on and off? How do we move the boxes? How do we move the people from one side of the stage to the next? And we have a big group. We have about 80-something children in this production.
Wow.
Yes.
From these 3 schools.
Yes, from these 3 schools. So that's how the collaboration came about, and that's why we decided to do a show of this magnitude. I'm sure, in the words of Miss McIntosh Simon, go big or go home. Might as well do something that's fun, entertaining for the public, but that our youngsters are able to learn something in the process, because they've been rehearsing since the last week in September. So.
Yeah,
that's a while.
That's a couple of months.
Yes, so now we're ready. Well, almost.
What do you want people to know about it and why people should support it?
Why should people support this show? Besides it being a fundraiser, this is these young people's most of their first attempt at having a production at all. Not just something of this magnitude, but something like this, period. They have been pouring their little hearts out in rehearsal. They have been, through rain, because we've had a lot of rain in the last few months, showing up to rehearsal and learning the lyrics for these songs that they're singing in choir, or learning the blocking or the stage placement of actors doing theater class. Just to see that come to fruition, I think people should attend and should give these young people their support. This is literally the future of our nation. This is literally the future of our nation in these 3 schools. And I think the onus is on us as the adults in the space to encourage them into spaces that aren't necessarily traditional. All of us were in a lockdown for a year plus, and all of us, I know, in some way, form, or fashion, looked at television, looked at streaming services, looked at, listening to music on Spotify or YouTube or all of these other things. Artists create these things, and when we foster art, amazing things happen in our communities. So that's why you should come to the show. Also, the script is great, and I'm not just saying that because my friend wrote it. But it's really a story of resilience and children taking the initiative. Yes, Gloria, Gloria, Christmas in Granny's Magic House, where a beautiful transference of knowledge happens, and also the story is based in the 9 lessons and carols of Christmas that are celebrated in the Anglican Church. And then there's a story of
and carols of
yes, and also a story of our migrant brothers and sisters who are here with us now and who are a part of our society and a part of our community. So I'm excited.
Well, that's broad-based thinking to introduce that, to include that into it. About how is that? Tell us a little bit about how is that woven into this about the migrant brothers and sisters.
We have in our own way, Port of Spring Dukes, that sense of community. These 3 individual schools who've decided to come together. That's community building. That's getting children who don't necessarily even see each other to work together. And so weaving the story of migrants into a Christmas story, it's really intricate, and we've had to do it in a really tactful way, and not in a way of being downtrodden or woe is me and let's take pity on, etc. No, it's a story of inclusion. It's a story of respect. It is a story of literally children saying, these young people just like us, they look like us, they may have a different language that they speak, but we could still be friends, we could still include them in our activities that we're doing. We can still include them in the ways of how we in Trinidad celebrate Christmas, which is similar but different than how it's celebrated in neighboring Venezuela. And a lot of our traditions are from Venezuela anyway, but we have our own Trini spin on it in the food that we eat and the music that we play and in the customs that we have. And so it's about sharing information and fostering community.
After all, Parang is in Spanish.
Oh yes, straight from the mainland.
I'm interested in the point you make about not approaching it from a perspective of sort of what people would say would be the kind of heartedness that comes from pitying people and
yes.
Do gooding, as the case may be.
Like what? No, let's be real. Let's have a genuine conversation that these little ones are actually having with folks. Like I have a little one who said, Miss, I have some penetration in my Spanish, in my swimming class. Great. So you could pull from those experiences and bring that into the show. She's like, okay, all right. And she goes off and she's thinking about it. So these little ones are actually living this. They're actually having encounters with children who've come across with their parents from Venezuela. So.
And it'll create, you could see down the road, years down the road, it'll create a different kind of person who would have lived through this experience of dealing with people
who has
who were
explored empathy, you know, and who has tapped into their humanness, you know, and if there's one thing can do that, it's art. You know, you have to put yourself in somebody else's shoes in order to portray them on stage. And so I think it has given our students the ability to do that and to think of others who exist in the space with them and alongside them. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to see them portray that.
Yeah, so how long did it take from conceptualization to decision to go ahead and put the thing in place?
It takes so long. No, we've been working on this with Portisman Duke since vacation time. Since July, August vacation, because Trinity Junior had a vacation program. And so during that vacation program, our director, Joelle Forbes, she started doing workshops with the little ones at Trinity. And so out of that, the idea to do a show was birthed. And these children, wow. Every time I think about them, like in rehearsal, I'm like, yeah, boy, they really show up and pour themselves into every session that they have. And they're learning dance moves and all, you know, all of these different disciplines that they've been doing. It's been tough in some instances to schedule it, you know, just to make sure that we're running on time, on schedule, that we're not taking anybody away from their curriculums and their work that they have to do, but also understanding that their children need extracurricular activities. And some of them who've never touched a pan before, playing Christmas Is Mine by Relator. Blows my mind. Never seen a pan before, up close. And playing a song beginning to end and excited about learning more, even beyond.
So how the pan people came? So you had to go to Pantry Big, or you had to go to a steel band to get
No, St. Catherine's, so thankful for these schools. St. Catherine's has an ensemble, a small little steel pan ensemble, and so we've been using those pans. And the little ones come from their various schools and they practice and they learn and like, all right, okay, cool. So they were drilling last week and now they have a nice presentation now, right? Now it's just to fine tune the edges and make sure that it sounds great. We are sourcing pans from steel pans who are in our area, and so we're not going to announce anything yet because things haven't been, you know, signed on the dotted line, etc. But so the community in itself is also assisting and also helping, and so these are pans that already exist in these schools. You know, brass exists at Richmond Street Boys or Christus Rex. So they're using instruments that they already have access to. We are reaching out to also other community-based organizations who will lend us drums for the show because we have a group of percussionists who will be accompanying all of the musical elements in the show. And so, yeah, so we've just been like pulling from here, pulling from there, right, okay, cool, and stitching it together so that we have a beautiful theater production come the 16th and 17th at Napa.
Yeah, and was there any discussion about whether one day was enough or 2 days and how you work Friday and Saturday instead of Saturday and Sunday?
Yes, and then Napa was like, okay, so these are the 2 days that you can have. Because of course, theaters always have, you know, busy times for Christmas because everybody is doing a show. And so these are the 2 days that Napa had available. And we're like, okay, cool, thank you so much. Let's take it back to the drawing board. And we'll go with those 2 days. And so these are the 2 days that we have, and we're going to capitalize on those 2 days. We have about 1,000 tickets a night to sell because we want to pack out Napa. Because these young people deserve it. They deserve to have a full house. And I think it adds a bit to the adrenaline of performance when you're on a stage and those lights hit you and all you can hear in the audience is just people breathing and trying to stay quiet. It's a magnificent experience as a performer.
It doesn't have ticket prices and so on.
Yes, so the tickets are $200 per person, and they're available from the schools. And so you can call the schools and you can get them, or you can send us an email at theportofspaindukes@gmail.com to purchase your tickets, and tickets will be delivered to you.
Right, and it's Friday, December 16th and Saturday, December 17th.
Yes.
At the Lord Kitchener Auditorium at the National Academy for the Performing Arts. Gloria, Gloria, Christmas in Granny's Magic House. Thank you, Phillips. Thank you very much. Thank you, Philip.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Johnson. Thank you.
You're very welcome. We will take a break. When I come on the other side, stay with us. This is AM Prime.
Is there not a cause? Is there not a cause needs more help and volunteers for the many outreach events during this busy, critical season? You can volunteer and help in many ways. Your time, your talent or skills, your resources, or your finances. Is There Not a Cause is making a difference one life at a time. Check Is There Not a Cause's Facebook page for a calendar of outreach and fundraiser events and share where you can volunteer or WhatsApp 394-2042.
Making your home a work of art.
Step into a spacious place of creative ideas for your home space. Our floor and wall tiles and natural stone is ideal for any use you need in your home. Toilet, bathroom sets and vanities lend design to your creativity, while jacuzzis and shower enclosures create the mood for dwelling on life's pleasures. Lamps and lighting fixtures add ambience and memorable pictures.
Horse-eye lights, tiles and bath, making your home a work of art.
Hosins Industrial Complex, Union Road, Marabella.
Take your list from A to Z, find it all easily. Everyone comes from far and near to the specialist hardware.
Get all you need for your interior or exterior projects, from finishing accessories to small or large tools. We're known for our range of doors, flooring, moldings, medallions, even fountain pumps and tanks. Check us out. We have what you need to get that job done.
Take your list from A to Z, find it all easily. Everyone comes from far and near to the specialist hardware.
Hosins Industrial Complex, Union Road, Marabella.
Better Value Limited has been making gift giving easier and more affordable for over 26 years. Power tools, indoor, outdoor furniture and accessories, mini appliances, designer fragrances, houseware and home decor products, and all your bridal registry items. Now in stock, our stylish loft bed and study desk combo unit for just $16.50. Better Value Limited. Call 235-3709 or visit us at Princestown or Gulview, or check our Facebook page.
Make every occasion a sparkling celebration with Rosabella alcohol-free wine.
Toast cheers with hourglass rays. Rosabella, live life with Rosabella sparkling drink. Celebrate!
Whether it's your family meet and eat, or your own personal getaway retreat, a business trip, accommodation, or a couple's celebration, the Cocoa Reef Resort and Spa has room for you. There's always sumptuous, delicious cuisine, and the gym and tennis court for a good workout routine. Then relax by the pool or on the private beach, or just head to the spa. It's also within reach. The Cocoa Reef Resort and Spa, Tobago's best beach resort. For reservations, call 639-8571 or check our website.
At Belgroves, celebrating life is our commitment with integrity, compassion, and dignity for your loved ones. Belgroves Funeral Home and Crematorium, serving Trinidad and Tobago for over a century.
Horse-eye lights, tiles and bath, making your home a work of art.
Step into a spacious place of creative ideas for your home space. Our floor and wall tiles and natural stone is ideal for any use you need in your home. Toilet, bathroom sets and vanities lend design to your creativity, while jacuzzis and shower enclosures create the mood for dwelling on life's pleasures. Lamps and lighting fixtures add ambience and memorable pictures.
Horse-eye lights, tiles and bath, making your home a work of art.
Hosins Industrial Complex, Union Road, Marabella.
Come down to the bottom of the hour. I'll just tell you what's in the papers this morning. The Newsday, Trinidad and Tobago. Well, the headline is $150 million for flood relief. You've heard that from the cabinet decision. And there's a story that says that the Police Association has agreed to take the government's 4% wage increase offer. That's what the paper looks like this morning. And in the Newsday Tobago, they're still talking about the zip line confusion. So that's another things on the front page of the Newsday Tobago as we head to where we're going. Let's just tell you now that Mexico suffered an agonizing exit from the World Cup on goal difference on Wednesday, despite beating Saudi Arabia 2-1 in a dramatic finale in Group C. We have a report on that from France 24.
Polish team, despite not playing that well, they go through, and that's because Mexico couldn't find the goals needed to push past in the standings. El Tri went ahead, Henry Martin, and then Luis Chavez's magnificent free kick made it 2. But Saudi Arabia, against the run of play, found a goal through Salim Al-Dawsari. And that means at the end of the day, goal difference separates the teams. Mexico crash out and Poland go through. Simon, back to you. I just want to ask, in your humble opinion, did the strongest teams make it through Group C?
I think they did. It was a straight shootout it's a very complicated group. Saudi Arabia possibly played the most entertaining football in the first 2 games against both Poland and against Argentina, but there was a lot of naivety in Hervé Renard's side, which finally was fatal to them in the last couple of matches. Argentina had the strongest squad, and that squad and the experience in the squad, and of course one of the best players of all time, delivered for them. Poland had the best defence and probably the best goalkeeper in the tournament heading into the game today, and Szczesny, as Ruben correctly says, once again delivered. And Mexico were probably the worst team out of all of them. Defensively, they were quite frail. They didn't offer anything going forwards. Why Raul Jimenez? Yes, he's come back from injury, but why Raul Jimenez didn't play more is beyond me, particularly in a must-win game where they had to score goals and he didn't start. So it's a difficult group to quantify, but I would say Argentina going through, it was nervy times for Argentina, but they were expected to go through and they got the job done, and they're top of the group. Poland going through, for what they've showed, the Polish coach said at the start of the tournament, ahead of the first game against Mexico, I haven't got the weapons to play attacking football, so I'm going to play very reserved football, very pragmatic football, and see what we can do. In Zielinski and Lewandowski, they have, of course, fantastic players. That's what they'll rely on to get the goals, but first and foremost, it's a defensive, solid block, and today is the first game where they were penetrated and where they conceded goals. So on that logic, the 2 teams that deserve to go through did go through.
And Simon, just a quick word on the power of the white shirt of Hervé Renard. It was great to see him do well at the start. A quick word on him.
Well, Hervé Renard, everyone jumped on the bandwagon of Hervé Renard getting a fantastic result, which it absolutely was. I think that he personally will be massively disappointed of how it finished for his team. They, as I mentioned, showed naivety. They weren't clinical enough against Poland when they could have been, particularly in the first half. They missed a penalty in that game. Let's not forget Wozniak Szczesny, who's now saved penalties in back-to-back matches. So it's a question for Saudi Arabia and Hervé Renard of what could have been. He's a coach who's had plenty of pedigree. He's won the Africa Cup of Nations with Zambia, which was a huge achievement, with the Ivory Coast as well. It's perhaps time for him to go to a more well-established team and see what he can do with a little bit more expectations on his shoulders.
All right, and before we go, we ask you to watch this. A star boy called The Rock. He says at 14 years old, he used to steal candy bars from the same store every day. So he went back to that same place and did this to right his wrongs. Watch this.
I have been waiting decades to do what I'm getting ready to do now. Hey, where's your Snickers? When I was 14 years old, every day I used to stop here at this 7-Eleven and steal a king-size Snicker bar because I couldn't afford to buy one. That was my pre-workout food. I did that for almost a year every day. I had to come back and buy every Snickers bar on those shelves. What's your name? DK. Ring all these up. DK's like... I used to steal a Snickers every day.
We're doing that.
I gotta come back and I have to buy them, you know what I mean? DK's look, listen, I'm trying to count all this I don't need to hear your stories. Go tell Oprah. What do you guys do? Guys, come on.
Oh my God, appreciate it.
You're welcome. Here you go, big brother. Come on. You want anything? You got anything?
Appreciate
Come on. Let's do it. How much? $298. $300. That's just for you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I'm going to leave these here. If somebody looks like they're stealing Snickers, give them these so they don't steal it. Thank you. After decades, I have a hi. Now, come on over here. Let's take a picture.
I gotta go. The rocket's here. Bye.
After decades of me wanting to come back home to 7-Eleven and try and make good, that felt really, really good.
What a way to fess up. That's our broadcast for this edition of the program. We tell you, you can get in touch with us here at AM Prime at WESNCC and all our social media platforms. You could send your emails to amprime@wesncc.com. We want to tell you that in half an hour, the guys will come in for today's edition of Talking Point. That's Shah and Small after the news at the top of the hour. And about 10 o'clock, you could check us out, check me out on today's edition of 10 Questions. My guest is Royan Mitchell. The topic is fighting anxiety. But I'll do it for us for now. Thanks for watching. I'm Adi Johnson. Have a good day. Have a good weekend. We'll see you around.
WESN